Hey folks, we are going to do some commission work this morning. I've been recruited to create a book cover for Andy Headley for a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition 3rd tier adventure starting in the Underdark leading to potentially literally anywhere. And Raven the Shatterer. So this is about an abyssal scientist taking a fusion of magic and flesh and building a giant mecha that can tear through realities, destroying destinations or channeling through armies of hellish hordes to invade wherever the weapon points at throughout the multiverse. So it's like a scry energy beam sort of thing, which is super freaking cool, man. That is a really cool fusion between Spelljammer and Planescape, in my opinion, honestly. So I'm really excited to be here working on this. I'm going to check my signal, make sure everyone's hearing things clearly, and then I'm going to go through my intro spiel, and then we're going to do some painting. So, mic check, 1, 2, 3. Intro spiel, and then we're going to do some painting. Yeah, so, sounds. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Spiel. Yep, sounds solid. Cool, okay, and so I've got an intro spiel that we go through, and while I do that, I press buttons pushing that I'm live across the interwebs. So, hey, my name's Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, I publish them online. Most of my time is invested in creating different books that I publish for as a third-party content producer for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. There are a slew of links to the stuff that I've created in the past down below. And for those that are familiar with my other streams, I've been designing an Eberron adventure called Crystals of Mabar that will also be publishing on DM's Guild once it's completed. And my co-author is Andy Headley, who is hold on, 1 second. There we go. And Andy is my co-writer for the Eberron adventure, and Andy is who has recruited me to create this book cover. So Andy, it is a thrill to work with you yet again. This is my third third encounter with Andy, and each one is more and more fun. So he's a great guy to play with. He does the Call of Cthulhu stuff. He's been in a number of different spaces. So check out his work. We'll have. I need to get a link up for him. So hold on for that. I'll get one. But for anyone else that's here, that's used to my other art streams. We're going to create a book cover here. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. Let's see where we're at right now. Hold on. Let's see. I just posted that I'm live on Twitter, so you can follow me at Phil Kearney if you want. But of course, the best way to get notifications when I'm live, when either I'm painting like this, doing cartography, doing game design, or RPG DM philosophies. Those are the 4 channels basically that I run in, and we just split up the content as we go. So let's see. We're at. This is the 8th episode today, and we have 227 subscribers right now. So as the notes say here, if I can get to 500 subscribers, the brush sets that I use in all my work, I will post on my Patreon at no cost for people to pick up my I think it's ASB file that I believe Krita, Clip Studio, and Photoshop, I believe all 3 of those use ASB, that's what they're called, ASB files. I believe all 3 of those programs use the same file set format, so it should work across all of those. But yeah, so we're going to just keep working. We have the general frame of what this. Why for what is so complicated? Hold on, I got to re-antiquate myself here real quick. New. There we go. Okay, so that's a rough sketch. It's very mecha. It's very armor-plated looking. It's not the appropriate motif for this. I think the vision I think is best is like Jason the Wheeled Warriors, where it's like flesh wrapped up with like bone-like plates and then drippy gore, bloody gloop. So that's going to be the flavor. Yes, that's the flavor that we're attempting to pursue here. So let me make sure I've got things in place here, there, foreground, midground, here. I'm just figuring my stuff out. Okay, we're good. Okay, cool. So I can get to these hands at the end. Right now, we're just working on sinew, twisted bone, and plating them all together. And we're using a red, a very sharp red color that I believe is a variant. This is a darker, red than the DM's Guild logo. I'm also going to have to do some highlights, probably some white highlighting around the text to make sure that pops properly. We'll figure that out as we go. I don't have to leave a black top like this. I could have it fade into just like a hazed out sky blue. Then the red would be really sharp across that, or we could leave it dimmer like this and then have white framing around each of the letters. I mean, that's not the final font we'll be using. We have a custom font that we'll use once we complete all the art elements, and we're resolving the weapon gate with the fiery effects I have burning off. I was thinking initially have those bleed into the characters, and if we're going to go with a white, a white highlight around the lettering when we get to that, this would actually make this energy, like this force energy effect, I think, bleed into that even easier. So we've got some cool options. The circle, the actual black hole effect is the last concern that we have. Again, it will be dictated by how we settle on the lettering. So we'll actually clean up this white hole effect, and then so we'll finish the mecha. We'll clean up the white hole effect, and then we'll work on the lettering. And once the lettering is complete, we'll be able to identify how we want to have the top of the page, have the dressing bleed into the illustration. And then once we have that figured out, then that will dictate what the energy effect, that sparking off of the white hole, if it stays white out to the edge or if it bleeds into a different complementary color, just to clean up the image. And then we'll also have to have some upturned dirt here, like some dirt mounds going like this, so you have like this wave effect. We have a pretty good wave of destruction started over here with these trees, but I think I can mulch up this a little bit more than it is. But that, and yeah, we got some pretty good upturn here, but I need to, again, there's more cleanup that needs to be done. But we're on the right path, so I like where this is heading. It's taking, like everything else in my life, it's taking a little bit longer than I want, but I'm no one's shouting at me yet, and I'm very happy with the results. So this is going to be a slammer of a cover when it's finished. It just might take maybe another 3 or 4 sessions. Even though we're gonna have like white and like white bones sticking through at different places, there's also gonna be a lot of glistening wetness. There's like a black oil, like a Phyrexian oil that powers this demon machine, which is very appropriate, very very on point for those that are color mana enthusiasts. A black oil that basically energizes this this golem. For lack of a better word, it's a construct golem sort of thing. Just it's 70 feet, so it's basically the size of the Tarrasque. For those that have been playing along in the Spelljammer book that I've been creating Monday through Fridays in the morning, will recognize that a 70-foot creature would fit inside of a 100-foot by 100-foot space, which is a 2x2 square at the 50-foot scale. And so when this publishes, I'll have an opportunity to make a little pay what you want one piece, converting this weapon into the Spelljammer mechanics. So you can have things like this being a planar threat as a campaign base if you wanted to escalate the adventures from here into the 4th tier of trying to defend the multiverse from demonic invasion, then this would be the primary weapon used to open those portals. And it's a Spelljammer scale vessel for all intents and purposes. When we were doing the Descent into Avernus, some of the playtesting that we did for the Spelljammer system that I've been developing was Descent into Avernus, and in that playtest campaign, we converted Azariel's blade fortress into it's a 500-foot long blade, like literally a 500-foot long blade, which is the maximum size a Spelljammer ship can be operated with a spelljamming helm. So we converted Azariel's fortress into a spelljamming mega. I mean, it's the biggest. There are no spelljammers in any of the books that are bigger than 250 feet. Well, the book, in 5th edition, 250 feet is the biggest spelljammer. But with the system that we developed, you could scale up a single ship to 500 feet inside of a single 500-foot square. So you have so her giant blade was basically a 500-foot long slashing ram, dealing potentially thousands of damage. So it could literally just like cut through city stone. And she was using it to carve up Elturel, to dump everybody, to dump the city into the river Styx, so that she could collect all the souls. She has to use the last of the energy that she has in her fortress to destroy Elturel, so that it dumps into the sea, so that she can then, as the ship falls into the sea, harvest the souls, and then the ship could pick back up. The timing has to be perfect, but that's her plan, and so your team is there to stop her from doing it. So throughout the adventure, you pick up a number of infernal war machines that we had. Mad Maxine, the night hag mechanic in the campaign. We had her Dr. Shavagoing the Hell Wasp, the large size. There's these Hell Wasps, right? They're large size wasps, so they have wings that can carry large size creatures. So we'd have the hag Dr. Shavago, like 4 or 5 of those wasps. And so our infernal war machines had stacks of wasp wings off the side, which gave them VTOL lift capabilities like helicopters. And that's how we created the fighter craft mechanics that we integrated into Spelljammer for ships having dogfights and boarding enemy vessels. So that's where all that came from. And this is this would be the first example of a mecha, because one of the expansions I'm planning on doing is Spirit Warriors and Warforged mecha, to have mecha suits like Gundams and Robotech and stuff like that. Escaflowne having medieval mecha suits using the Spelljammer mechanics that we have. If they're a flying unit, then they'll have a minor helm, and they can operate as a fighter craft using a minor helm properties from Spelljammer. But they'll also have basically an upscaled armor suit that allows them to use the exact same action economy as the character that pilots it. By sitting in the helm, the character can use all of their class features at the 50-foot scale instead of the 5-foot scale. And we have mechanics about like upscaling spell damage and stuff like that that can be utilized as well. So you using the Spelljammer mechanics, you can already just like reskin an Elven flitter ship, for example, to be a 50-foot Spirit Warrior that was grown and animated by the elves. You can already do that. All you have to do is just change the appearance of the flitter ship. But to help people make that logic leap themselves to their own homebrewing and their own power fantasies for their own space opera campaigns, I will create a short, small document that shows how to convert the shipbuilding rules that we provide in that book to be used to create mecha and like massive scale warforged walking fortresses, or like Ravnica, the Parhelion 2, how to build armadas, like the flying elven fortresses that carry 100 flitter fighters on their back, like like a carrier ship, and the ogre mammoths, which were the greenskin version of the armada, as well as dwarven fortresses, massive 500-foot blocks of stone carved in the shape of a dwarf's face or a weapon, that are basically flying citadels packed full of, you know, room carving dwarves looking for greenskins to slaughter in space. Super cool, man. Second edition Spelljammer was super freaking sick, man. There was so much cool stuff. So we're making these lines, these folds here. This is all different sinew and muscle groupings. So when we go in and we do the detail work, we'll be able to pick out a glistening highlight color and a base sinew color, and then we'll be able to use those colors as our base black white scaffolding that we like to do in pieces to help build separation, and it's just a style we seem to be developing. You develop style over time as your relationship with understanding, like as you progress as an artist, you get better at depicting the content that you're working with. Like and that's why fantasy, in my opinion, that's why fantasy illustration is. Hold on. There we go. My lighting was down a bit. I had to up that a bit. Take a sip of coffee. Nothing has to be super detailed right now. We're just getting the flesh, and we're gonna blend it, and we're gonna just blend it all in together. Anyway, that is 8 points. So I'll probably have like a 3-point brush. Something like around like that. Let's grab a flame like that. Like I could here, and then I can have like that color effect, and I can have that there, and I can have that there, and then I can blend these things together to start making this sort of fleshy sinew effect. So I can wrap muscle around like that. I don't know if this is the color we're going to use. It's just a sample. But we can start building textures like this to get these interesting little slick highlights to help form the masses of muscle that are holding these bones and chitin plates together. So it's a lot of fun for us to be able to like do like almost like an airbrush sort of effect, kind of like that. And this is, I can just, this sort of, sorry, thank you, timer. The timer helps make sure I don't get lost in any specific detail or down a rabbit hole of conversation unconsciously without being aware of where I am and my timestamp and the amount of time I have to produce for the day. So we'll be here for probably, we'll see how long I can hang. I could potentially be here for 2 hours, but I don't know if I'll have the energy to maintain all of that. I tend to run streams like around an hour and a half-ish. But if there's a really good groove going on at some point, I could push it for 2 hours today. But this is how we can express the bass. Like that would be like the default expression of these exposed muscles, and then we can like, get a bone plate in here to use highlights to exemplify both the radiance coming off of the gate itself, but also the coloration for the bones that are being held together. And we can do things like blacken that out at the top, or well, it's not black, it's red, but anyway. And then we can bleed it down like that. is going to be pretty sick. Just going to play with this for a minute because this is something we're going to do eventually, but this is just a proof of concept for why we're investing the time we are right now for the task that we're performing. Like, what purpose does this serve? This is the big picture that this is the image that's basically manifesting with us. I was talking about this actually in the Spelljammer stream yesterday about how little control I have over this process. It used to take like artists get faster as they get better, and if they stick with the same sort of content, same medium, as they become more of a master of the tools that they use and gain proficiency, as it were, and that bonus increases or expertise. The process gets faster, not because, and that's because they trust their intuition more, and the more they surrender themselves to the muscle memory of how to build like a creature or a tree or whatever it is that they're working on. Once they reach a level of mastery with their tools and their what strokes, movements, and shapes do they need to build to create the aesthetic that they like for the object or the subject matter in general. Once they start establishing that as part of just their professional development, they can turn over the thinking of that process to the reflexes they've honed. Like a quarterback in football, right? They get paid a ton of money because they have effectively trained their body to throw a ball down the field 50 yards and hit within a 5-inch hitbox. Like, they get paid really good money to do that, and they don't do it by specifically programming, like dictating to themselves where they need to move their arm next and how much force do they need to. And okay, now they don't do that. They just look and they fire. This is how it works. That's how reflexes and training works. Art is the exact same way, except that it's not a sport that you're engaging or competing with others. You are using that reflex system to depict fantasy realities. So you get faster because you can trust your body to do what it needs to do, and you can just get out of the way of it. And it just it's already like, this is me firing the ball down the field. Maybe basketball free throw would be a better way of expressing that. Is in free throw, it's just a matter of you ignoring the distractions on the court, and the cheerleaders and the fans, and turn off your brain and perform the exact same motion that you practice hundreds of times a week for the free throw line when you get a penalty and it's your chance to give your team 3 points. All you have to do is that, and just do it exactly that way, and you'll always give your team more points. Or like in bowling, all you have to do is this the exact same way 12 times, and you score a perfect game. And you have to get out of your way to make sure that your body can just do the thing it knows how to do, and it does it best when you don't get in the way of it. Art is the exact same way, and our thoughts in that conversation we were discussing, I believe that thoughts are the same way. The more you get out of the way of yourself and your thinking, the more you can know what's the right thing for you to do and have confidence that what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing in the moment. And it helps you make better, wiser, more conscious choices about what it is that you're doing. It's not like you're making new choices. It's you have a deeper relationship with what you know is right for yourself, and it becomes more reflexive for you to execute, quote, what's right. And that's part of the process. And it's all part of the process of just becoming better people in general, which we get to attain over time in life. And the people that never turn into good people are people that are really, really new at the game. So they're gonna lose a lot, and they're gonna have to put their quarterback up on the machine a lot of times, waiting for their turn to try against whoever's the champ at the arcade right now. I like that analogy a lot. I spent time in the arcades in the 80s and 90s, and it used to be like the fighting games like Mortal Kombat and Tekken And Killer Instinct was my favorite. Like, of course, Street Fighter. There would be basically a queue line, right? Like people waiting in line to play the game, and everyone would have a quarter up on the dashboard of the arcade machine, and whoever won the fight stays, and the next person with a quarter would challenge the winner, and so however good you were, it would dictate how long you actually get to play. And that was a very natural evolution of order in playing video games. You get to play until you die, and then when you got to drop in a new quarter, whoever has to drop in a new quarter gets out of the way and lets someone else do it. And that was actually a really genius strategy of the arcade industry to set it up that way, that you just get to continue playing if you win. And the new challenger comes in and they queue you up for another game. It rewards mastery of your game because it gives you social status in the arcade. And the arcade was someplace that it used to be important to gain status in, because it's where you hung out as a high school kid. If you had an arcade and that was the scene that you were into, there was definitely hierarchy involved with who's really good at video games. Like, you could not beat Clint at Killer Instinct. Could not beat him. And hardly anyone played Samurai Showdown, but there was a couple of dudes that did. They were pretty strong. I got pretty good with Hanzo. No, I liked Samurai Showdown. That was a fun fighting game. It was all it was all Asian combat tropes in a Street Fighter format. Like Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, yada yada. Killer Instinct was a really cool game. I could never really get into Tekken. It was like it was much slower and more deliberate. And I was a big Chun-Li fan coming off of off Street Fighter. So I liked muscle twitch stuff and quick response. So I didn't like the feel and play of Tekken. And Mortal Kombat also had a lot of drag to it, but it just didn't feel as fluid as Street Fighter, and Killer Instinct felt fluid like Street Fighter did, but like with the combos, it was more of an evolution, a complexity that rewarded system mastery for being able to build combos and step away as it played out. That was a lot of fun. There's a lot of bragging rights that went into being able to build good combos in Killer Instinct, because there wasn't a lot of like you had to find information on how to build combos in Killer Instinct when that first came out, because the internet was brand spanking new. Like AOL discs were still being handed out to parse out minutes of time to be online, and so like if you're going to get information about how to be really good in a particular video game, you had to get a video game magazine that would provide cheat codes and like full game analysis, like Nintendo Powers used to do, for instance. That was a great magazine. So yeah, what I was talking about is once this thing gets published, I can translate this mecha threat that's the showcase for this adventure. I can pretty easily convert this into Spelljammer mechanics, and it would be a fun. These sort of things would be fun things to have in a Spirit Warrior campaign, where everybody's piloting a 50-foot mecha fighting, giants. Like, wouldn't that be a fun way to approach Glory of the Giants, for everyone to be kicking around in 30-foot giant suits, fighting other giants that are in just plate mail armor? That'd be a really, really great, like 7th to 11th level adventure sort of framework. That'd be really, really fun. I don't know if there's any Escaflowne fans out there or not, but that was pretty. That was Fantasy Mecha done pretty well. Of course, D&D characters are tough enough that, like, by 11th level, you can fight people in mecha suits on your feet on your own without a mecha suit. So at some point, like, if you have a campaign that's solely built around mecha suits, it can get pretty boring. That's why you need to have smaller dungeon structures and things that can limit the scope of tools that you can use to engage enemies. Like, you can take mecha suits into attacking a dragon in its home lair, because there's like, if you have a 30-foot mecha suit, you can engage with an ancient red dragon that way, and you can upscale your dragons to 50 or 500 or 5,000 feet, depending on what kind of scale of combat you want to operate with in your mecha suits. But it's very, very easy to transpose all that stuff into 5e. So it was really exciting to see this thing drop on my plate, because it's a 70-foot mecha. Basically, it's like a flesh golem. As you can see, this will take a little while for us to finish. So I'm going to move away. I mean, that's what you can see this thing evolving into, this sort of work. And so what I want to do is make sure I have the line art where I like it, and then we'll drop in a background color. Then we'll get some drip effects going on, and then we'll do the glistening highlights like we're doing there, and we'll see how intricate and detailed do we actually need to get on this to create the effect that we want. So pressing on. We'll get back to here. I think I want to leave that as a plate. So yeah, all that upscale stuff, it starts with the Spelljammer book that I'm currently illustrating Monday through Fridays in the morning. So anyone that hasn't swum by, you're welcome to kick in there. The book is done. We're just doing artwork and diagrams for it currently, and like all the other books I have linked down below, we'll be publishing that on DM's Guild, and you'll be able to have a free look at it. And it is the first step towards a comprehensive 5e mechanical system involving commanding armies, vehicles, and fortresses of any size, as well as a guilds and kingdom system that uses all of the basic 5e mechanics that you're already used to, with a couple variant rules that are already in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So we're taking everything from the core books, the core 5e game chassis, and we're building the tools that people keep looking for, like Bastion system isn't Dominion control, it's magic item manufacturing. Like, it's if you look through, okay, so here's a quick rant about 5e Bastion, which was introduced in the most recent playtest. It's introduced as a fort, like a home, but the home isn't ever threatened. It doesn't really make any decisions or have any kind of influence over a territory, other than you gain if you spend points, resource points, you gain advantage on charisma checks with anybody within 50 miles of wherever your base is located at, your bastion is located. but you're not. And then you could also develop like a warehouse that generates money for you, that you can narrate how that happens. But otherwise, everything else that's pretty much in the book is pretty much giving you magic items. Lesser magic items at a certain rate of like, it takes X number of days to do so. And then like high tier legendary artifacts, for instance, take hundreds of resource points that you accumulate over time. But you can cash those points in and start accumulating new ones pretty much at any frequency that the DM is okay with. And when you cash them in, you basically just get the magic item of your choice. So it's lessening the burden on DMs to seed magic items into adventures, because it gives players agency to build the ones that they want for themselves. And that is a very 4E philosophy. 4E, you just basically had magic items and you upgrade them as you level up. They just upgrade. So once you start off with your focus item, it just continues to evolve over time with you. And this is a modified version of that, which is you have these points that you accumulate, and when you have enough of them, you cash them in for a magic item, and then you start accumulating more, and the higher level of rarity, the more points it takes. But that's all it does. That's all there really is. I mean, you could very well argue that's all there needs to be, and that is all there needs to be, because literally any kind of negotiations, trade agreements, territory disputes, new what's the word I'm looking for? New treaty, new grants for land, that can all be done via charisma checks, just as a simple skill challenge to gain, build a peace treaty that will provide you with ore with the dwarves that are in the mountain. You could easily just resolve that with a charisma check, and your Bastion gives you advantage on the check to do that. And it's just resolved. It's just like poof, it's just resolved just like that. And that's super simple. So the Bastion system really can do literally anything that you need to do in the most minimalist expression possible. It's a complete deconstruction of the Dominion system trope. And so, in one sense, I applaud them for its massive simplicity. But at the same time, they use it as basically another. It's an alternate magic item list. Basically, there's like your magic item list in the DMG, and then there's the Bastion system, which tells you basically how quickly you can gather any item off of that magic item list. So it's sort of a companion piece to the magic item lists in the DM's Guild, in the Dungeon Master's Guide, to basically be the crafting rules for magic items. So people that are like, this takes up too much space. It's like 20 pages, and that's a very large amount of space to devote to any content in the Dungeon Master's Guide. But if it is literally the means of creating magic items, then arguably maybe it is worth that space. Maybe it is, because that just like the Renown system. I mean, the Renown system is like a half page, maybe a page of content at most, which is significantly less. Oh, that's interesting. All right. And if people want more complexity, then there are plenty of offers out there that provide that, including the stuff that I've been building. And what I like about what I'm doing, as opposed to what I've seen most people doing, other than Adam Hancock. Adam Hancock is, I think, in a really smart space with where WotC is going with his Bastion system, because his Guilds and Kingdom system basically provides stats like charisma checks, strength checks, constitution checks, basically 6 stat checks for your guild, kingdom, bastion, shop, whatever, to attempt performing actions. So like where the bastion system's like, yeah, you get a charisma bonus with, you get advantage on charisma checks to anything within 50 miles of your bastion. Adam Hancock's Balduran's Guide to Kingdom Building would have, instead of just a single charisma check, you would be able to like improve your commerce industry. And so like the type of bastion you build would give you advantage on commerce checks, as opposed to building a castle or a fortress that would be like a military industry, so that you're building up military force to build armies with. So that would give you, like the bastion system would give you advantage on those military flavored charisma checks, right? So it's different types of ability checks, but it's the same mechanic as the bastion system, just broken into 6 attributes instead of just a single charisma check sort of system. So I personally, I'm a big fan of what he's built, and I want to make sure I'm getting this. And that's the basic framework for the guilds and kingdom system that I've been developing. It piggybacks on Adam's Balduran's Kingdom Building Guide, and takes the ability check concept in a bit of a different in a more narrative direction that's looser, that uses his same concepts, but has less crunch, more narrative, so it's fast and loose. So more like kind of like how Cypher system has threat levels, but the threat, like a threat might be a scale of like a 6 out of 10, but that could literally be a trap, a spell, a creature, an attack, a weather condition, a curse, an argument with your spouse. Like these could all have different. It's just a difficulty of 6 out of 10 to give you an idea of how apocalyptic this effort is. Like in a relationship RPG, a difficulty 10 would be something like the couple is attempting to prevent themselves from having a divorce, and the effort level may be a 10, and if they're powerful enough as a couple, they can overcome it. There, I just created the Cypher dating game simulator for you. So sally forth with that. You're going to hear me talking more and more about Cypher system, because I used to run Cypher before 5th edition, and a lot of how I run 5th edition is built off of Cypher system in general. Because I basically just, like, the Cypher system has scales of like difficulty like 1 to 10. And from my perspective, it's you basically have a difficulty from 3 to 30 on a scale of 1 to 10. So like that generally, I mean, it's not that literal, but that's a simple way to express it. That like in 5th edition, a DC 30 is often impossible until you get into the 4th tier of play. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 30 is nearly impossible. You have to have a lot of synergy and class features that are going to let you pull that off. But it's possible. So that's a really good benchmark to set. So using the Cypher system philosophy, you can simplify 5e games to basically have that same scaling effect. Cypher system has this thing called Edge. And no, Edge reduces the cost of things. It's been a while. You have to forgive me. I think it's masteries or expertises. I forget, but it's things that lower the challenge of lowers the number of the threat. And if you can lower the number to 0, you automatically succeed, right? Well, D&D does the exact same thing already with the D20. If you have a +8 modifier, you're automatically going to succeed. On a scale of 3 to 30, being 1 to 10, a DC 9 challenge is a scale of 3 out of 10. And most first, second tier characters that have like a +2 or a +3 proficiency bonus and a +3 or +4 in the stat that's relevant to them is automatically going to be succeeding a 3 out of 10 threat. And they're working on things like first tier is working on like a scale of 4 or 5 out of 10. While your 20th, like your 17th plus level characters are dealing with 9s and 10s. But depending on what their stat bonus is, Monty Cook Games basically just deconstructed the D20 and built it backwards. It's sort of like a reverse. It's almost like a reverse THAC0, because it has a scale 1 to 10. You've got your D20. Your D20 is basically going to have its blah 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 blah. I think theirs is it's times 3. So it's whatever the DC, whatever the challenge is, times 3 is the die roll that you need. But your skill brings down the DC. So it may have started as a 20 or with a DC of 30, but like through different effects and yada yadas, you're able to bring it down to say a 24. And then you've got a +6 on your die roll. Now the impossible is possible on a roll. If you have like a +6 bonus, then it would be the impossible is possible on a roll of 18 or better, which is still unlikely. But if you can continue finding ways to gain advantage and edge over the challenge to keep bringing down the DC, then you might be able to get it down to a point where it has, it's only a DC 6, a scale of 2 out of 10 challenge, a challenge 2, and then since you have your +6 bonus, you automatically succeed, and that's how you play the game, by having that meta narrative about bringing down the difficulty of the challenge. So that's basically how Cypher system works, and it's a super loose, easy system. But everything, essentially in that game, everything is a skill check. The combat in D&D is also a skill check with a lot of extra moving pieces. And D&D has a separate hit point pool than their spell point pool. And in Cypher system, the spell point pool is the same resource as their hit points. And the costs for doing things is, you want to make things free by specializing and dropping their cost. And so that's what I've done with the martial power system that I've been streaming development for on Tuesdays. I use that same philosophy of having a mana pool that you use to trigger effects, and you can buy down the cost of them to make them less expensive. And we're going to see, and once the new edition comes out, we're going to have the framework to reformat to have cantrip powers that are basically like weapon masteries that you can use on your attacks at no mana cost, as basically weapon cantrips. So 5e doesn't have weapon cantrips right now, so it's not our priority in our build. But we know it's something that's going to that is going to happen. So that is on our radar. I am currently building out this turret structure. It's supposed to be flesh and bone, so I'm working on what are the different components here. And how do I need to build those? This is where my drafting skills come in. I'm going to come back over here and make sure I have this anatomy good. These things are super fun. Oh yeah, that's working out. Nice, I like that. So we took that block and we're now converting it into a contracting muscle mass. I have this knot down in here where all these muscles are tying together as like a bicep flexing. It pulls the cannon up and down by flexing this muscle mass. It causes this arc here and here by flexing this muscle in here. I want to avoid having anything. I want to have everything curling into itself so you can't see their origin points. Like I maybe on the legs in some places, I'll have positions where you can see where the tendon fuses to the frame, but those are soft points. In my mind, if there was targeting, you'd want to target those areas to cripple its movement. So when I'm designing this thing, I'm thinking about I'd want to protect those. I want to protect those connections because muscles can tear, but they can be healed. Tendons are more difficult because those are the actual connectors to the power system. If you weaken that, then you limit the amount of power that can go through that coupling. So that makes this makes these orbs largely unnecessary. So I can convert these into additional muscle groups. Nice. Now we're starting to be able to give shape there. Nice. See, now we have a frame and a natural path to lead these ropes around this helm that we're basically cockpit or command station that we're basically building into this. Nice. gives me a smoother curve like that. There we go. Interesting. Turn on a timer. Taking my time here to make sure I build what I intend to create here. Yeah, let's just keep it minimal down here, like a tuber plant. Too much detail on the barrel in a flesh-built golem risks disaster. So I am going to a little bit more subtle. Just go with some light framing like that. There we go. Getting a very good Warhammer vibe coming off of this, and I think that's the right feeling. I bet I could build some pretty cool Chaos Army art. Building that kind of like a rib cage. There we go. Pretty good. Out a little bit more. Yeah, I need to get this all taken care of here. Get this this ball joint I have over here, get that same thing going on over here, so I have that symmetry and style, so it feels congruent and intentional and symmetrical. Symmetry denotes intelligence. At least intelligent design. Symmetry creates order, which creates repeatability, patterning. These are all system building structures, things that strengthen fundamentally what it is. Which is why symmetry is considered beautiful. There we go. Let's get our background back in here for a minute so we can see where we're at. So I'm going to build a second there. Scaffolding. Yeah, I immediately love this. Let's do a quick check here. There we go. All right, so if this is going to be, let's go to square. Let's just do a shit test real quick. Let's block it in like that. There. All right, so we're proposing this is a 5 foot square. That's my intuition. So if this is a ladder that leads up, that is literally a 10-foot tall ladder, right? You can see that difference there. Jump, 1, 2, right? So that means that that's 15 feet, right? And this would be where a pilot or engineer could operate this thing from. So this is effectively, let's give it 5 more feet at the top of that line. See, you have that line lined up there. So we'll take this to here, and let's presume that's the 50, because this thing's 70 feet wide, 70 feet long, 50 feet wide, and presumably 50 feet tall. So let's see how well this sits. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. Sorry, I'm gonna do this again. 1. You see how there's lines here? So we're starting up here, right? We're calling that 50 feet. That lines up with this line here, and then so we'll drop down. We'll put that at the top of our mark, and now we're at the top of the ladder. That's our next 5 feet, and then we go down to here, and we can see that we have the sinew that's roping into this point on the ladder. So we can drop down here some more to about here. Here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can see this knot here is at the 4-point mark, so we can line up that knot. So that's our halfway point from here to here. That's 25 feet according to this scale. That would be 50. So we're coming up short. Let's do this. Five, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. That feels about, that's 70. So it's 70 feet, 70 feet, 50 feet. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At the 5-foot scale, that'd be 50 feet. So yeah, this thing does fit within the 50 feet. So 50 feet wide, 70 feet long, 70 feet tall. We're okay. I think we're okay. So this is a fair scale, and 5-foot scale here. Basically inside this house and that roof, that'd be 5 feet, no problem. 5 feet, so this would be like an 8-foot ceiling, which is appropriate. Okay, cool. So our scaling is good. That ladder is good. We can carry on. Gotta shit test ourselves occasionally just to make sure that we're working at the right scale. And currently, we're working at the right scale, which means that this platform is correct. Ladder for you. Let's see. There we go. Cool. We got, what, another hour? Awesome. Let's keep on keeping on. Thank you, Timely Timer. Helping me keeping the time. Take another sip of coffee. Sips of coffee, follow up with a shot of water. Help keep the hydration up. That's interesting. Switch back to the round brush there. Thank you, buddy. Little rope knots and So we're here 6 days a week, Monday through Friday. In the morning, we work on Spelljammer illustrations for the book that we'll be publishing for alternate Spelljammer mechanics. That'll be on the DM's Guild once it's completed. The book is done. We're just streaming art assets currently, and so that's Monday through Friday. On Monday and Thursday nights, we have cartography and creature token design for the Eberron adventure that we'll also be publishing on DM's Guild. On Tuesdays, and this, by the way, this Monday, we'll be doing a special Halloween Gore Fest map illustration for the Hamlet that the Eberron adventure takes place in, getting attacked by a horde of zombies and ghouls, leaving the inhabitants dead to be discovered by the characters to set them off on a mission of revenge into the forest where the rest of the adventure awaits. So that's what we'll be focusing on Monday. So I guess trigger warning, gore. But otherwise, Monday through Thursday, that's normally what we do anyway. Just, one form or another, maps and creature tokens. And then on Tuesday at lunch, we have our martial power development channel where we are creating quadratic option versions of martial characters like the fighter, the rogue, the monk, the barbarian, having a list of options similar to paladins and rangers and artificers have of not spell magical effects that they can use a mana resource to activate as both combat and out of combat utility options for them to engage content in game. Kind of like how full casters have out of combat options to create solutions to problems. We're providing similar mechanics for martial characters as well. So you can check out development of that on Tuesdays. We're going to be playtesting that here probably in the new year. I've been using it at my home table, but we're 19th, almost 20th level now. So we've been basically using these various forms of these playtests since 12th level about a year ago. And so now I need to have a low level campaign to test the first and second tier. So I'm putting together a Westmarch style playtest channel for hex crawling and basically random shenanigan generators for characters to engage with and overcome using the martial power options for them to basically give themselves additional options during different challenges. So word blur. I'm wording bad right now. Don't mind me. Bad languaging. Not so good. Sometimes my brain derfs. And it just stops doing. Drop a comment down below if you can relate. I'm not feeling the shell. That feels more right. This is fun. I love working on this. I love projects like this in general. They're super cool. I think when I finish this commission, I'm going to take a break for a couple months and just do some personal work instead of taking on any additional commissions, unless something like particularly compelling comes by. I'll probably hold off on commissions until maybe March, and focus on some side hustles that I'm running here, on top of all the other books I'm doing. Like I could build out Spellpoint Warlock, Spellpoint Sorcerers here, and get that published. I can work on my new home table Spelljammer campaign, developing out the basically how I outline and build campaigns. I also have the Martial Power playtest that I need to build out the campaign for. Honestly, that's probably my highest side hustle priority right now, is dedicating that design space time to Martial Powers. So I'm going to keep that. I think I'm going to keep that Tuesday, and when this is done, the Saturdays to start, doing that dev. Get rid of that altogether. Nice sharp dew claw on the back of this thing's knee. That's hardcore. There, I like that. That feels right. Thin it down a bit. Nice. My face is awfully enshadowed today. I have all the same light sources I normally have. Oh no, it's not. My blinds are partially open. I bet that's affecting. I bet it's casting shadow on this side of my face, so it's drowning. Yes. Yes, there was more light coming in from this side, so it's shadow casting this. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, well. The more you know. Ah. 11:20. Yeah, so we got about 25 minutes left. We're going to play today. That's okay. We're making some good progress today. I'm really happy with how this thing's turning out, man. I think this back chassis is probably good to go. So now we get to continue working on the face and the arms. we go, like that. Good. And I need to flesh up these shoulders. Yes. I like this curled muscle sort of like twist effect that you can pull out of that to make the arm twist and bend like that. That feels fun. A little sinew knot here. All right, we got 20 minutes left. That builds right into curve very nicely. I haven't done musculature like this in a while. It's fun. I used to do like ropey flesh stuff like this all the time. And by all the time, I mean like in high school. I don't do a lot of bare flesh undead. I'm going to be doing a shitload of it pretty soon here in the Eberron tokens that I'm building, like with the ghouls and the long dead and the fresh dead and the bloaters and the mass graves. There's a lot of undead themed stuff that we're going to be playing with in Eberron in general. This is actually a really timely project for Andy to bring to me because of the amount of similar sinew work I'm about to start getting on with the Eberron adventure that we're building tokens for. So that's the timing's actually a little ridiculous there. Amazing. It's pretty good. I think what I want to do right now is let's drop a base color underneath this. So let's do that. We'll just drop in a thick red. fill this in, and we'll use this as our base for. We still have the oil slicks to drip into the machine, and we still have the lighting, the sinew, the glistening of it still needs to be done. So we still got a lot of work to do here, but it's coming along very, very nicely. Like that. So we're going to fill this in, and then we'll probably just stop here. So I am here 6 days a week. I take Sundays off. Otherwise, I start up again Monday morning. And so Monday morning, sometimes Monday lunch, Monday nights, Tuesday morning, Tuesday lunch, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Thursday nights, Friday morning, sometimes Friday lunch, and then Saturday mornings. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 11 times per week, off and on, give or take. Sometimes more, sometimes less, or sometimes less, up to 11 times per week. Working on different projects, moving things forward with all of them, just moving projects down the road until they get completed, and then we drop in whatever is next, whatever the next project is, and we just keep rolling them out. Eventually, we're going to be stepping out of the DMs Guild into Kickstarter projects like Drive-Thru RPG. I'll be doing stock art off of my Patreon. I do playtesting off of my Patreon. Everything I playtest, I provide in read-only Google Docs that you can use in your own campaigns if you're interested in ahead of time. And anything I publish on DMs Guild is always going to be a free preview. And once I move off of DMs Guild and start doing Kickstarter projects, all my stuff will be free preview in the Google Doc that we're developing that you'll have access to through my Patreon while we're developing it as part of the process of the Kickstarter campaign. So keep an eye out for all that stuff. If you think the stuff I do is cool, then I really appreciate you. Consider liking and subscribing. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the year, which is going to be one hell of a skills shot, but everyone can roll a natural 20. So you only miss the shots you don't take. So check that out. A lot of stuff for folks to check out down below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. And I will be back Monday morning for us to do more Spelljammer art. So hope to see you guys then. Be welcome to drop me a line, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks a lot.